Well, hello there. Hi. How's it going? Welcome back to JuniperGraceTube number 17. We are here. Yay! I'm so glad you're here. If you're new, thank you so much for coming by. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I love you, Junipers. My name is Juniper Grace. I am the lovely host of this podcast. You can find me on Ravelry as Juniper Grace. You can find the Ravelry group for this show, JuniperGraceTube, and then you can find me on Instagram as Juniper Grace and Twitter as GRaceFace, G-E-E Raceface. It was before Juniper Grace. Anyways, we are here to read, to continue on our journey with Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery, Lucy Maud Montgomery. We have read 2 chapters so far, and now it is time to dive into chapter number 3 and find out what's going to happen to our Anne girl. I feel pretty optimistic given that her name is Anne of Green Gables, but you never know. Alright, so let us find out what's going to happen. So, chapter 3. Marilla Cuthbert is surprised. Marilla came briskly forward as Matthew opened the door, but when her eyes fell on the odd little figure in the stiff, ugly dress with the long braids of red hair and the eager, luminous eyes, she stopped short in amazement. "Matthew Cuthbert, who is that?" she exclaimed. "Where is the boy?" "There wasn't any boy," said Matthew wretchedly. "There was only her." He nodded at the child, remembering that he had never even asked her name. "No boy! But there must have been a boy," insisted Marilla. "We sent word to Mrs. Spencer to bring a boy." "Well, she didn't. She brought her. I asked the station master, and I had to bring her home. She couldn't be left there, no matter where the mistake had come in." "Well, this is a pretty piece of business," exclaimed Marilla. During this dialogue, the child had remained silent, her eyes roving from one to the other, all the animation fading out of her face. Suddenly, she seemed to grasp the full meaning of what had been said. Dropping her precious carpetbag, she sprang forward a step and clasped her hands. "You don't want me," she cried. "You don't want me because I'm not a boy. I might have expected it. Nobody ever did want me. I might have known it was all too beautiful to last. I might have known nobody really did want me. Oh, what shall I do? I'm going to burst into tears." Burst into tears she did, sitting down on a chair by the table, flinging her arms out upon it and burying her face in them. She proceeded to cry stormily. Marilla and Matthew looked at each other deprecatingly across the stove. Neither of them knew what to say or do. Finally, Marilla stepped lamely into the breach. Well, there's no need to cry so about it." "Yes, there is need." The child raised her head quickly, revealing a tear-stained face and trembling lips. "You would cry too if you were an orphan and had come to a place you thought was going to be home and found that they didn't want you because you weren't a boy. Oh, this is the most tragical thing that ever happened to me." Something like a reluctant smile, rather rusty from long disuse, mellowed Marilla's grim expression. "Well, don't cry anymore. We're not going to turn you out of doors tonight. You'll have to stay here until we investigate this affair. What's your name?" The child hesitated for a moment. "Will you please call me Cordelia?" she said eagerly. "Call you Cordelia? Is that your name?" "No. It's not exactly my name, but I would love to be called Cordelia. It's such a perfectly elegant name." "I don't know what on earth you mean. If Cordelia isn't your name, what is?" "Anne Shirley," reluctantly faltered forth from the owner of that name. "But oh, please do call me Cordelia. It can't matter much to you, and what you call me, if I'm only going to be here a little while, can it? And Anne is such an unromantic name." "Unromantic fiddlesticks," said the unsympathetic Marilla. "Anne is a real good, plain, sensible name. You've no need to be ashamed of it." "Oh, I'm not ashamed of it," exclaimed Anne. Only I like Cordelia better. I've always imagined that my name was Cordelia. At least, I always have of late years. When I was young, I used to imagine it was Geraldine, but I like Cordelia better now. But if you call me Anne, please call me Anne, spelt with an E." "What difference does it make how it's spelled?" asked Marilla, with another rusty smile as she picked up the teapot. "Oh, it makes such a difference. It looks so much nicer. When you hear a name pronounced, can't you always see it in your mind, just as if it were printed out? I can. And A-N-N looks dreadful, but A-N-N-E looks so much more distinguished. If you'll only call me Anne, spelled with an E, I shall try to reconcile myself to not being called Cordelia." "Very well, then, Anne, spelled with an E. Can you tell us how this mistake came to be made? We sent word to Mrs. Spencer to bring us a boy." "Were there no boys at the asylum?" "Oh, yes, there was an abundance of them, but Mrs. Spencer said distinctly that you wanted a girl about 11 years old, and the matron said she thought I would do. You don't know how delighted I was. I couldn't sleep all last night for joy. Oh," she said reproachfully, turning to Matthew, "why didn't you tell me at the station that you didn't want me and leave me there? If I hadn't seen the White Way of Delight and the Lake of Shining Waters, it wouldn't be so hard." "What on earth does she mean?" demanded Marilla, staring at Matthew. She's just referring to some conversation we had on the road," said Matthew hastily. "I'm going out to put the mare in, Marilla. Have tea ready when I come back." "Did Mrs. Spencer bring anybody over besides you?" continued Marilla when Matthew had gone out. "She brought Lily Jones for herself. Lily is only 5 years old, and she is very beautiful. She has nut brown hair." "If I was very beautiful and had nut brown hair, would you keep me?" "No. We want a boy to help Matthew on the farm. A girl would be of no use to us. Take off your hat. I'll lay it and your bag on the hall table." Anne took off her hat meekly. Matthew came back presently, and they sat down to supper, but Anne could not eat. In vain she nibbled at the bread and butter, and pecked at her plate. Oh dear. But Anne could not eat. In vain she nibbled at the bread and butter and pecked at the crab apple preserve out of the little scallop dish by her plate. She did not really make any headway at all. "You're not eating anything," said Marilla sharply, eyeing her as if it were a serious shortcoming. Anne sighed. "I can't. I'm in the depths of despair." "Can you eat when you are in the depths of despair?" "I've never been in the depths of despair, so I can't say," responded Marilla. "Weren't you? Well, did you ever try to imagine you were in the depths of despair?" "No, I didn't." "Then I don't think you can understand what it's like. It's a very uncomfortable feeling indeed. When you try to eat, a lump comes right up in your throat and you can't swallow anything, not even if it was a chocolate caramel. I had one chocolate caramel once, 2 years ago, and it was simply delicious. I've often dreamed since then that I had a lot of chocolate caramels, but I always wake up just when I'm going to eat them. I do hope you won't be offended, because I can't eat. Everything is extremely nice, but still, I cannot eat." "I guess she's tired," said Matthew, who hadn't spoken since his return from the barn. "Best put her to bed, Marilla." Marilla had been wondering where Anne should be put to bed. She had prepared a couch in the kitchen chamber for the desired and expected boy, but although it was neat and clean, it did not seem quite the thing to put a girl there somehow. But the spare room was out of the question for such a stray waif, so there remained only the east gable room. Marilla lighted a candle and told Anne to follow her, which Anne spiritlessly did, taking her hat and carpet-bag from the hall table as she passed. The hall was fearsomely clean. The little gable chamber in which she presently found herself seemed still cleaner. Marilla set the candle on a 3-legged, 3-cornered table and turned down the bedclothes. "I suppose you have a nightgown?" she questioned. Anne nodded. "Yes, I have 2. The matron of the asylum made them for me. They're fearfully skimpy. There is never enough to go around in an asylum, so things are always skimpy, at least in a poor asylum like ours. I hate skimpy night dresses, but one can dream just as well in them as in lovely trailing ones with frills around the neck. That's one consolation. Well, undress as quick as you can and go to bed. I'll come back in a few minutes for the candle. I daren't trust you to put it out yourself. You'd likely set the place on fire. When Marilla had gone, Anne looked around her wistfully. The whitewashed walls were so painfully bare and staring that she thought they must ache over their own barrenness. The floor was bare too, except for a round braided mat in the middle, such as Anne had never seen before. In one corner was the bed, a high, old-fashioned one with 4 dark, low-turned posts. In the other corner was the aforesaid 3-cornered table adorned with a fat red velvet pincushion, hard enough to turn the point of the most adventurous pin. Above it hung a little 6-by-8 mirror. Midway between the table and bed was the window, with an icy white muslin frill over it, and opposite it was the washstand. The whole apartment was of a rigidity not to be described in words, but which sent a shiver to the very marrow of Anne's bones. With a sob, she hastily discarded her garments, put on the skimpy nightgown, and sprang into bed, where she burrowed her face downward into the pillow and pulled the clothes over her head. When Marilla came up for the light, various skimpy articles of raiment, scattered most untidily over the floor, and a certain tempestuous appearance of the bed were the only indications of any presence save her own. She deliberately picked up Anne's clothes, placed them neatly on a prim yellow chair, and then, taking up the candle, went over to the bed. "Good night," she said, a little awkwardly, but not unkindly. Anne's white face and big eyes appeared over the bedclothes with a startling suddenness. "How can you call it a good night, when you know it must be the very worst night I've ever had?" she said reproachfully. Then she dived down into the invisibility again. Marilla went slowly down to the kitchen and proceeded to wash the supper dishes. Matthew was smoking, a sure sign of perturbation of mind. He seldom smoked, for Marilla set her face against it as a filthy habit, but at certain times and seasons he felt driven to it, and then Marilla winked at the practice, realizing that a mere man must have some vent for his emotions. "Well, this is a pretty kettle of fish," she said wrathfully. "This is what comes of sending word instead of going ourselves. Robert Spencer's folks have twisted that message somehow. One of us will have to drive over to see Mrs. Spencer tomorrow, that's certain. This girl will have to be sent back to the asylum." "Yes, I suppose so," said Matthew reluctantly. "You suppose so? Don't you know it?" "Well, now, she's a real nice little thing, Marilla. It's kind of a pity to send her back when she's so set on staying here." "Matthew Cuthbert, you don't mean to say you think we ought to keep her?" Marilla's astonishment could not have been greater if Matthew had expressed a predilection for standing on his head. "Well, now, no, I suppose not. Not exactly," stammered Matthew, uncomfortably driven into a corner for his precise meaning. "I suppose we could hardly be expected to keep her." "I should say not. What good will she be to us?" "We might be some good to her," said Matthew, suddenly and unexpectedly. "Matthew Cuthbert, I believe that child has bewitched you. I can see as plain that you want to keep her." "Well, now, she's a real interesting little thing," persisted Matthew. "You should have heard her talk coming from the station." "Oh, she can talk fast enough. I saw that at once. It's nothing in her favor either. I don't like children who have so much to say. I don't want an orphan girl, and if I did, she isn't the style I'd pick out. There's something I don't understand about her. No, she's got to be dispatched right away back to where she came from." "I could hire a French boy to help me," said Matthew, "and she'd be company for you." "I am not suffering for company," said Marilla shortly, "and I'm not going to keep her." "Well, now, it's just as you say, of course, Marilla," said Matthew, rising and putting his pipe away. "I'm going to bed." To bed went Matthew, and to bed, when she had put her dishes away, went Marilla, frowning most resolutely, and upstairs in the east gable, a lonely, heart-hungry, friendless child cried herself to sleep. Doesn't it just makes me want to cry. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We haven't found the answer yet. unfortunately, this is the cliffhanger for the next time. So I guess I'm going to have to record pretty soon in order to prevent any future cliffhangers. Dun-dun. But thanks for listening. Okay, so that's Anne of Green Gables. And now to me, the girl who always wished she was Anne of Green Gables. Although I must admit, I'm really thankful I haven't had any of those crises before in my life. I'm pretty sure that my mom wanted to keep me from the word go. I'm pretty sure she wanted me. Maybe that's a safe bet. Not that Anne's parents didn't want her. Long story. Anyways, I'm so glad you guys are here, and I'm very sorry that it's taken me a while to get back and record. You know, it's just been, like I said, summer vortex madness. Just things keep happening. Which, you know, excuses, so I'll move on. Why not get into the fun? All right, so I'm just excited to be back with you guys. Sorry, just had a moment there. I just had a little moment of like, I love you guys. I got a brand new computer, and part of the delay was the fact that I have been trying to figure out how on earth to record this podcast and make everything, work and get every application that I had on my old computer that I've had for 3 years over to this new computer that I've not had for 3 years. And that can be a bit of a struggle, I'm not gonna lie. So, like, it took me probably half an hour just to figure out how to get the video to record. Because everything's new and different. I'm such a creature of habit. I'm like, can I just write things down instead of typing them? Can I just, you know, give me a typewriter or a pen or a pencil? Unfortunately, you can't really do that with a video podcast, so thank you for your patience. So now to list making with Juniper Grace. Basically, that means the administrative portion of this episode. So we had a wonderful little giveaway challenge. Actually, should reach over and grab this for a delightful little bumblebee. Remember, I challenged you guys to show your love of the bumblebees and to make a little bee waterer for your garden, or show me why you love bees, or anything like that. Because it just matters to me. Basically, if the bumblebees are gone, then there's no more planet Earth, which would stink. Well, I guess the planet would stay, but the people would be gone, which would, again, stink. So I bought 3 extra little bumblebees, just like this one that my mom bought me, and I'm going to send them to the 3 winners of that who participated in my little challenge. And basically the idea was make a bee waterer, or show me one that you already have, or show me a picture of, or tell me about why you love bumblebees. And I got some pretty good participation. And earlier I drew the 3 winners. And so the first person is number 5, Laura Mag. And you know what? I owe you mail, and I definitely owe you a little package. So this is very convenient. I'm going to send you a little bumblebee. She showed me how she put some stones in her bird bath so the bumblebees could land safely on the stones and not drown in the water. And she planted borage, I believe, which is a type of flower that bumblebees absolutely adore, and it's really great for the little honey makers. So that was great. The second winner is Tinkerplink Mama. She was number 2, so she was actually the first person to enter, and she created the little pie plate with the little marbles in it. And I really hope you found some bumblebees. Apparently, she never really saw the bumblebees. To be honest, I don't see the bumblebees in mine either, but one didn't make it on the rock and got caught in the water, and so it proves that and I added more rocks. So they're probably there, you just might not get to see them. And then number 3, Truffles06. She is number 6, and she and her son, well, she showed a picture of her son's bumblebee that he made at day camp, and then the little bumblebee waterer that they created together, and that's great. That's so much fun. I mean, it's really important to instill in the future generations how important it is to take care of the world around us, and that includes bumblebees that are definitely not as scary as I used to give them credit for, or used to think. They're really wonderful little creatures, and you know, it's good to do what we can to take care of them and to feed them. And I was reading an article recently, and given that I live on Vancouver Island, where things are actually in flower all year round, they were suggesting that you should try to have something that will bloom pretty much at every point in the year for the bumblebees. Although, don't they go dormant or, hibernate? Or not hibernate, you know what I mean. Yeah, basically, do they hibernate? I need to learn more about bumblebees. I need to get a book about bumblebees, I think. Because I'm very interested. I used to be very scared, now I'm very interested. Yeah, so that was our most recent giveaway. Yay! And there will be more. I just don't have one right away, although I do have segue time into our swap that we're going to have. Actually, we have two swaps that I've created a thread for, and I think I'm just going to kind of not meld them into one, but I'm going to have them go basically at the, kind of along the same lines together at the same time. Maybe, yeah, I might as well, because you know what? They're both really awesome, and you both have been waiting you've been waiting very patiently for both of them. All the people that have expressed interest in both. And now for those people that are brand new and don't even know what Juniper Grace is talking about, let's get to what I'm talking about. So we have two swaps. One is Fill a Project Bag Swap by the lovely Marrow Shop. I think I said it right. Meredith. I kept calling her Mario Shop because it just made me think of the Mario Brothers. I don't know. But I think it's Marrow Shop, which is what she told me. And I hope I can read and figure out what she said. But anyway, so she had this really great idea that we get partners. So you only get one partner. You're not going to be swapping with a world of people like our previous Valentine's cards and Easter cards and things like that. This is going to be one partner, and you take a project bag, you stuff it full of wonderful things. I mean, there's so many things you can stuff it with. And then you send that to your partner and they send one to you. And it's a way to make friends with somebody across the miles, as well as just enjoy the gift, or enjoy the act of giving a gift. I really love that. That's partly why I do these giveaways, or I love to do the postcard giveaways, because I just love giving things to people. That's one of my love languages. Just, taking the time to think of that perfect gift that'll just make someone smile. It doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be crazy. It can be something so tiny but wonderful because it's just perfect. You know that? Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. So anyways, we finally have information. We had information before, but I didn't manage to get this podcast out. So I've tweaked the information, and I got permission from Meredith, who is basically she's basically coordinating this swap. And I'll talk about the other swap in a minute. So what's going to happen is I'm going to make it an official sign up now. I'm going to start adding names to the list. And if you've already expressed interest, but this isn't going to work for you, you can definitely go ahead and say, nope, sorry, I can't do it this time. I'll do it another time. No guilt, no stress, nothing like that. But once you commit, I do want you to commit and follow through, just because nothing sucks worse than creating a beautiful swap package only to have your swap partner not send you anything, right? So think about that. So I'm going to leave the swapping sign up open until, oops, just adjusting my scarf. There we go. I'm going to leave it open until September 13th. I don't know why I picked that day. It works for me. So I figure we'll keep the swap sign-ups open until the 13th. And then by the 15th, you should have your swap partners assigned. So then you want to get in touch with each other and switch mailing addresses and things like that. Or maybe we'll get the addresses. I'll have to talk to Meredith about that. She's like my little genie. She's amazing. And then, well, no, that sounds really weird. I'm not using her. She volunteered. She likes it. She is granting my wish of a swap. I'm weird. I don't know. I haven't had enough coffee. Another sip. So anyways, we'll keep it open. We'll assign the partners by September 15th, and then the idea is that the package will be mailed out. So whatever you're swapping, you have 1 month to mail it out. So you've got till October 15th to mail it out. Not too difficult. I figure a month is enough time. Even me, like I'm going all the way out to Maine and back. I'm celebrating my husband's birthday. I have a ton of things. I'm starting brownies again. All of this is going to be happening during the swap deadlines, and I'm pretty sure I'm still going to be able to, I'm still going to be able to get my package out, so I know you guys can do it too. So we were also thinking that to give it kind of like a value, like the idea that we're aiming for, how much to spend-ish on the parcel, we're thinking around $40 to $50. Now, that seems like an awful lot, but just think about it. Like, you're going to be getting the same value back. And if this is too much, if that's a concern, we can definitely kind of group partners that might want to spend a little bit less together. And the thing is, you don't even necessarily have to outright spend that money because maybe you've already spent it. Maybe you have something beautiful in your stash that just isn't quite right for you, but might be perfect for your swap partner. Maybe you have a project bag that you have used, I mean, lovingly, so it doesn't look like it's all ripped to pieces and super dirty, but maybe there's one that you've used, you've loved, but you don't need anymore. You could use that as your project bag that you send on. You know, personally, I'm totally okay with things that have been used before. Some people might not be, so maybe discuss that with your partner before things start. But you know, there's lots of ways to be creative about this, and it doesn't just have to be, you know, yarn in the swap bag. I mean, you can put some candy, maybe some coffee. I love coffee. You can put notions. You could put a little magazine. You could put an Archie comic in there. I mean, there's so many things that you could put in this fun little bag. Just get to know your partner. Like I'd say send a couple messages back and forth. Read their profile. If they have a blog, look at their blog or Instagram account or anything like that. Get to know them and then put together a little swap and send it out with love. So that's number one. And then I think we'll just run the other one together with that. I figure they can go kind of hand in hand. The second one is a friendship mitten swap. And so the idea with that one is, again, you'll have one partner, and you guys can together decide to pick a mitten pattern that you want to knit. Maybe you already have one that you already love to knit. Maybe you just make up your mittens. Maybe you don't, you know, go from a pattern. Whatever it is, you guys will pick a pattern. Each one of you will knit a pair of mittens, but then you'll take like the right mitten and send it off to your friend. And then you'll have mismatched mittens, but they'll be really fun, and you'll have a new friend in the making. So let's say that the sign up for that is the same, and maybe we can extend the deadline for that one by an extra month. So maybe till November 15th. Just because sometimes knitting can get a little bit crazy. I mean, it's just a pair of mittens, but you never know. So let's give that one 2 months. But let's still do the sign up the same, and then, you know, be really fun. So those two things are really, that's what's happening in Juniper Grace land. I am bursting with ideas constantly. I have so many things that I want to do, and like, for example, I have my amazing postcard wall behind me. You can't quite see it because the lighting was being funky, so I had to kind of swivel away from it a little bit, so maybe I'll adjust that. Perhaps I just need to get a giant big thing to cover with postcards. You guys have done such a great job of sending in postcards. I received 2 other sets of postcards, but I did a really rushed cleanup job when some people came over, and I misplaced the postcards. So I have to find them. And I didn't want to not record because I couldn't find the postcards. So I'll find them, and then I'll say thank you. One set being from Laura Mag, she sent me a whole series of postcards. One from the Forest of Dean, which is where Hermione takes Harry and Ron when they're running away from He Who Must Not Be Named. Harry Potter nerd. And that was really exciting. But yeah, so if you want to send in a postcard, you just feel free to send me a message on Ravelry, and I will give you my address, and maybe I can send something back to you, hopefully. Now that summer is almost over, I'm really, really hoping that life can get back into routine, and thus things will be a little more predictable and reliable from this gal right here. Thank you so much for your patience, all of you who have put up with my inconsistencies over the summer. Love you. It's a little heart. Okay, then I also have the questions. I'm thinking of doing kind of like a questions episode where you guys send me questions and then I will answer them on 1, possibly 2 episodes, which I kind of stole from Maybe Beth of the Fat Squirrel Speaks, but I just thought it'd be really fun. And so if you want to, there's a thread open for you to fire some questions at me, like, what's your favorite kind of sausage? Or I don't know why that came up. Or if you could be any animal in the world, what would it be? I don't know. You know, any kind of, there's some really great questions so far. I'm so excited. I was reading through them and I thought, oh, that's awesome. So that makes me really happy. Now, let's move on to Adventures in Juniper Graceland. Woo! I don't feel like editing in those, you know, some podcasts are really professional and they put in the tiles where it's like theme music and the title and of the next segment. And I guess I could like maybe make a sign where I'm like, Adventures in Juniper Graceland. I don't know, maybe, who knows? But I probably won't. So I just want to talk to you guys and I don't want to edit for a million years. So you get what you get with me. Thumbs up. They're like, okay, continue on. What's the adventures? Okay. Sip of coffee. You guys are great. I love you. Okay, so Adventures in Juniper GraceTube land. No, wait, Juniper Graceland. Kind of like Graceland, but Juniper. I got my brand new laptop, so that has been really interesting. Basically what happens, my amazing, loving mom, what she does is, it's time for a new laptop. She'll usually buy me the new laptop and I'll trade, like I'll give her my older one, just because she doesn't need all the bells and whistles, and usually I use all the bells and whistles, so it makes sense. And I'm so thankful, and I love you, Mom, and thank you. But what happens every single time, like this is kind of a tradition we've done for a few years now. Every single time, I mean, I use my laptop so much. There's like so much of my life is on that laptop, like all my knitting patterns, my podcasts now, my emails, like, or whatever you end up saving, all my photos on your computer, right? And so to try to change that over to the next computer, there's some ways that are really easy if you just wanted to literally transport the whole computer over, but I want to be more selective. It's kind of like moving to a new house. You want to go through your things. You don't want to just shove everything in a box and then arrive at the new place with just way too much junk. You know, you want to go through, you want to get rid of some stuff, you want to organize, you want to know what you've got, you know. So it took me probably about 2 weeks to get through the old computer and get to the new computer and get everything set up. But it's been worth it. It's amazing. And thanks, Mom. And I really love the computer. It's awesome. It's beautiful. It's the newest MacBook Pro. And you know what they do? They've gotten rid of the disk drive in laptops. Or at least my newest MacBook Pro. It's like the MacBook Air, so it's lighter, not quite as thin, but it has no disk drive. I don't know about you guys, but I still have a very extensive DVD collection. I still have a bunch of VHS. I still have a VHS player because I collected amazing amounts. Well, like the best VHS collection, and then out came the DVD player. Okay, this is dating me a little bit. Like, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm almost 30 years old. Which some people would laugh because they don't think that's very old, but I don't know, it's like 3 decades of life. But so I've been around. I've had the VHS. I had many amazing VHS. Then out came the DVD player, so I started building up my DVD collection. Same as like all my tape cassettes. I had a bunch of cassettes that were amazing. Then out came the CD player, and so I had to get some CDs. My first CD was Lisa Loeb. And Backstreet Boys. I had 2. I had Lisa Loeb and Backstreet Boys were my first 2 ever CDs. I'm awesome. And okay, so anyways, then the DVD player came out. I never got on the Blu-ray thing because it's basically DVD. I don't know. But I still have a bunch of DVDs. I still watch them. Like I have TV shows, or like recently I've been watching Gilmore Girls on DVD. So I have an external disc drive now so that I can still watch my DVDs, because I don't watch them on the TV. I watch them on my laptop so I can take them wherever I want. And first world problems, Grace. First world problems. Sorry, guys. Dismounting from my weird pedestal thing that I would, like, soapbox that so I got the brand new laptop. Tons of fun things have been happening, though, because it's still summer, all kinds of crazy fun things. So we're going to have to work through them, and we'll get to the knitting, we'll get to all the crazy things, but thank you for being awesome. Okay, so on my second wedding anniversary, which was August 17th, so I've celebrated my 2nd year anniversary with my husband. We went out for a wonderful dinner and a movie, and he brought me flowers, and we decided to buy each other bicycle helmets for our anniversary gifts this year, because we decided to also buy bicycles. So I have a new bicycle, and that's kind of exciting. So is my husband, and we're going to try to go bike a few places instead of driving, which, why not? It makes sense. Of course, we get the bikes right before rainy season starts to kick in. Oh, well. Yep, fall is like rain here instead of snow. So that happened, but then on that day, Joel and I talked about it, and it was totally fine. It was vibrations, and like fiber, like vibrations, not vibrations. It's called vibrations, and it's a one-day fiber festival in Victoria on the grounds of St. Anne's Academy. And I was asked by the lovely, lovely Jane Richmond and Shannon Cook to come and work their booth with them this year because, well, let's face it, they're pretty awesome, and thus they are very busy selling their things and talking about their patterns. And I bring all of my previous test knits and various knits that I have of theirs that are in the curvy lady sizes so people can try them on. And it's so much fun. There was way too much sunshine. I literally burnt this funny little patch on my forehead because I'd reapplied sunscreen, and then for whatever reason, just like one section of my forehead I missed or something. So I had like a red spot right there. My mom's like, "Did you bruise your face?" I was like, "No, I burnt it. I don't know." But so vibrations, it was fantastic. It was amazing. All of these incredible yarn dyers from Vancouver came out, or yarn creators, whatever you want to call it. They came from Vancouver. They came from, I think someone came from Kamloops, all over the island. It was so much fun to hang out with all of these crazy knitterly spinners. The Spinners Guild was set up with all their wheels. There was a demonstration of flax getting spun into linen. That was cool. But I was mostly working at the booth. So when I was able to escape, beforehand, I kind of looked at everything, and I looked at all the vendors, and I thought, okay, I have a few places that I really want to go. And I had an hour between when the festival started and when I was supposed to start working at the booth, where I could just run around and get what I wanted. So let's start showing you some things that are horrible stash enhancement enablingness. You've been warned, and I apologize, but not really. It's like, sorry, I'm not sorry, because they're really awesome. Okay, so number one that I have been hearing about for ages from all the girls at Knit, and I've just missed out on, and it's kind of frustrating because I could order it online, but then I have to pay crazy Canadian shipping costs, even though literally the yarn is like a boat ride away. I still have to pay tons of money in shipping. So I was just going to wait till I could see them in person, and I did. My chance was in August. So Caterpillar Green is this amazing company that does these beautiful self-striping sock yarns that I'm totally obsessed with. All the girls at Knit are obsessed with. I've never gotten my hands on them. So this was the day, ladies and gentlemen. Let me show you. I'm going to have to reach. Why did I put them so far away? This one. Yes, so I got three. I ended up getting 3 things from them because I just knew that's what I wanted, so I just made it happen. So I was reading or on Instagram or something, I found out about them having not only amazing self-striping sock yarn, but they've decided to come out with a self-striping yarn that stripes for a shawl. So like the stripes still are self-striping, but they're big enough repeats that you can do a shawl. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Okay, so it's Caterpillar Green yarns. And this is the Merino Fingering Shawl Striping. 70% superwash merino wool, 20% cashmere, and 10% nylon. 574 meters, which is 628 yards, 170 grams. CaterpillarGreenYarns.com. Okay. So that means that I got a chance to meet the creatives behind this beautiful yarn, which, oh my gosh, this colorway is called Concrete and Tulips, which is like, I would argue one of their most iconic colorways, where it literally looks like it's got gray between the color stripes. So that, if you crack it open, there's pinks, there's kind of a red, there's oranges, there's green, there's blue, and then that gray that's kind of between it all. So I'm not sure. I think I'm going to do Stephen West Boneyard Shawl. That's Stephen West, right? Yeah, I think it is. Because I've not knit that before, and that would just be a perfect kind of simple shawl that would highlight the stripes, I think. And Jenny, my friend Jenny from Knit Night, she knit that as a test knit for their yarn. So, Then, because it was their booth, they had a few like seconds or oopsie daisies or mistakes or whatever, one of a kinds, that just didn't quite work out. And so I grabbed this bundle of, it's like the same amount as the shawl. Still, it's 70% merino, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon. So basically all the same. 599 yards, so a little bit less, not much, but it still stripes just like socks. So it doesn't have the same long repeats as the shawl, but I think I'm going to make like knee-highs, or maybe I'll just make regular socks with matching mittens, like the Linden mittens that Jane does. And it's called One of a Kind. It's very reminiscent of Concrete and Tulips, yet everything is a little more washed out. Like the colors are not as vibrant. There's not like that red or peach. There's kind of like a very muted peach or almost rose, but it's much more subdued. I just love it because fall is coming, and the yellow is what kind of spoke to me. So that's what I got to start off with. And then I couldn't help myself. I came back because I'd been eyeing up this colorway called Skyline, but this one instead is the BFL fingering, classic striping, 80% blue-faced Leicester, superwash wool, 20% nylon, and I'm going to make my hubby some massakas. So it's coming out really dark, and I think it's just the poor lighting because of the time of day, but I just wanted to record, guys. Okay, so that blue that's reading more like a bright blue is actually a fairly light blue. It's not royal blue, it's more of like a blue jay blue. I don't know, so, but that's okay. So it's blue and gray and almost like cream, but still gray. So it's like different shades of gray. And skyline, like basically like a Vancouver skyline on a gray drizzly day. So those are my 3 from Caterpillar Green Yarns. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited to knit with those. The hardest part is when you buy something new and you're just like, I want to knit with it right now. I want it right now. But you can't because you have other things on the go. Okay, so I also found, pardon me while I turn away from the camera. I am sorry. Okay, so then my next stop was this adorable booth, and she is called, Smith & You. And it was just the sweetest, I don't know, this yarn just kind of spoke to me. It's variegated again. It's not a self-striping, which kind of freaks me out a little bit because you never know what you're going to get, if it's going to pool or like what pattern to use. But I freaking love it. So it's hand-dyed by Smith & You, 3-ply sock fingering yarn. Superwash merino wool nylon blend, 80-20. Approximately 400 yards, it says 4 ounces. Yeah, that makes sense. 115 grams. From Kamloops, BC. Smith & You. Look at that cute little sheepy sheep. And it's, what's the colorway? I don't think she wrote it down. Okay, yeah, she didn't write it down, but basically it's something like she had to put it into 5 different dye pots to get this, and it's just gorgeous. Like, again, it reminds me a bit of like cotton candy kind of, or carnival candy, but like fall carnival candy. So that's exciting. I'm not sure, I have no idea what I'm knitting with it. I just really loved it. And I told her, I was like, do you know about podcasts? And she's like, no, I don't. And so I was like, oh, wow. Hello. So then, another one that I wanted, and I've had their yarn before, and I've knit with it, and I think it's just amazing, is Rain City Knits. And you can see that. It's another Vancouver-based yarn company, and this is just gorgeous. It's kind of like, what is it, Electric Peach or something that Madeline Tosh does. Something like that, but it's her version. It's not Madeline Tosh, it's Rain City Knits. And it's 100 grams, 437 yards of 100% organic merino wool. So it's not superwash. It's fingering weight, but it's not, I wouldn't use it for sock. I was thinking possibly a shawl. I don't know what, but I just love the color. Each skein is individually hand-dyed. Minor variations are a reflection of this process. Hand wash in cold water and lay flat to dry. Rain City Knits. And it doesn't say the colorway on the tag, but basically it's this gorgeous, gorgeous, like ridiculously gorgeous peach. And it's so soft. It doesn't smell too sheepy, but it's so soft. Just like, I think I have an idea for this, but I'm not 100% sure. And I'll throw that by you in a minute. So I also couldn't help myself. As we were there, it was really cute. She set up kind of under a tree, and she hung a bunch of yarn that she had just finished dyeing, I guess, right beforehand, to dry out in the sun, and also to sell. So this was one of the skeins that was hanging to dry. That's why it's a bit reskeined a bit, or not, well, it's wound up a little bit funny in the hank because I was getting wobbly. But this is the graffiti colorway. It's another sock, but this time I believe it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. So I'm pretty sure these are going to be socks. But look, graffiti. Can you see it? I can see it. It's all the neons. I couldn't help myself. It was hanging to dry. I was literally paying for this one, like using the little square thing. And I was like, can I get this too? And so 2 purchases. Couldn't help myself. It was like, it called to me. And I love them. They were so cute, and they had their dog with them, and the dog had this adorable little hand knit bandana thing, and it was so cute. So Rain City Knits, again, I'll show you one more time. I believe you can even just Google them. I'll have the link in my show notes for sure. But they were just so fun, so funky on Instagram, and they have a hilarious Instagram, and the Instagram is Rain City Knits. I feel like a jerk. I think her name's Krista or Christy. Krista. And I think Caterpillar Greens is Christine. Or Caitlin. I should stop trying. It's because I didn't write it down and I'm silly. But then, one that I don't forget, I'm such a jerk. Her name's Heidi. And Heidi is from Vegan Yarns. And this is just gorgeous. She told me that in November, she is coming out with a mystery knit along that takes these 2 skeins of yarn, my choice of colors. I figure in November I will be very much into this colorway. It's a beautiful kind of like pink and kind of a brown, but like, I don't know, I just love it. I just really, really love it. Love it, love it, love it. It is the vegan yarn. It is 100 grams, 437 yards. The color is iron and I cannot pronounce that. Magrobulin blend, organic fair trade cotton. And then I guess the pink is colored, pink is safflower pink. And so it's 100% organic fair trade cotton. It's going to be a shawl, I believe, that requires 2 colors of yarn. And I got to go join her Spinzilla team. So it looks like but she's so sweet and she loves to play ukulele and I really like her. Heidi, hi. And yeah, and so I couldn't help myself. I mean, I have some of the vegan yarn, the Deneb, and I'm knitting the Deneb shawl out of that, but this is just, it spoke to me. Lots of stash enhancement. Then, after Vibrations, yeah, that's all the stuff from Vibrations. It was so much fun. Aside from the sunburn, honestly, it was one of the most wonderful things. Oh, I got a new project bag, too, from Miso Crafty Knits. Dang it. I will show that on the next podcast. I will make a note. Next podcast. Miso Crafty bag. Because Melissa makes just the best project bags ever. I think this is my third or fourth one, but I can't really help it. Basically, every time she's at a fiber festival, it's kind of like an excuse to support my friend and buy a new project bag. Maybe my next purchase for a project bag will go for my swap. But yeah, it was so cute and it's got coffee all over it. I'll show you guys next time. But after that, we went and did our 2-year anniversary. Then what else? So many things happened. Oh, my best friend's cat was in a commercial. And so I helped go to the filming of that commercial. They called me the cat whisperer. So I was wrangling Ollivander the cat while they were trying to film the commercial, which was really fun, but long and a lot of work. And I felt really sweaty afterwards. But it was fun. I went to see the Doctor Who season premiere with the new Doctor at the movie theater. That was crazy. I don't know what I expected there, but that was crazy. So far, I'm feeling wonderfully optimistic. I hope it all goes well. I'm just not sure, because I love Matt Smith. I love Matt Smith, and I love Amelia Pond. That's me. Those are my favorites. I didn't think I could love anyone after David Tennant, but then Matt Smith came along. So those are 2 things that that happened there. Then I had my best friend's 30th birthday, which means mine is in November. But for her 30th birthday, we rented a limo for an hour. We went to McDonald's in the limo because it's just the kind of ridiculousness that she would love. We went for a drive. It was really fun. We went to Japanese Village. I've never been there before. It's basically where they cook your food in front of you, and they do all the flair and the chopping, and they make choo-choos out of stacks of onions. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then you think I'm crazy. But it was really fun. They create your meal for you, and you just sit there and you sit at this big communal kind of table and enjoy a meal, and that was really fun. And then we topped it off with an ice cream cake from Dairy Queen and hanging out and playing a really fun game of Quelf. It was a good birthday. Then just 2 days ago, I went to 2 days ago, 3 days ago, Monday. Today is Wednesday. Is today Wednesday or today's Thursday? I don't know what day it is. Oh dear, I've lost all track. I think today's Thursday. Sorry guys. I think I meant to record yesterday, but it took me 45 minutes to figure out how, and by the time I figured out how, I was really angry, and you would have gotten an angry podcast, so I waited till today. But anyways, on Monday, we went to the Saanich Fair, and it was so much fun. It was there's rides, there's cotton candy. I got cotton candy. There's booths, there's people selling produce, there's all the animals, there's the judge for the best squash and the best carrot, and then there's a whole barn full of the kids competition stuff. Of course I found the knitwear. I went to look at it. It was great. There were some beautiful, beautiful pieces of knitwear. I think I need to enter, and I don't know if I live in the right area in which I could enter, but I think I can, so I'm going to try to enter because I think I could win some stuff based on what I knit. Maybe. The Saanich Fairgrounds is actually where I do my big winter Christmas craft fair, so it's kind of fun. And in the room, it's called the Juniper Room. That's where I usually have my booth, which is just amazingly coincidental. That's where they had the knitwear and the fiber arts. They had quilts and hand spun yarn. It was amazing. I don't know what's wrong. I need to tap into my community and the wealth of resources that they have, because there are some amazingly creative people in this world, and I need some help learning how to spin better. So I think I might join the Spinners Guild or something. Maybe. So I found that. Then I found a really great booth that is by a local lady. I keep reaching. It's because all my stuff's over here. Just bring it. I put it in the fruit bowl. It's a fruit bowl of yarn and a banana. Anyways, it is this beautiful farm. Well, she was selling the meat as well, but it's called Country Wools is the yarn. Yeah, countrywools.com. www. I met Loria Thompson, who was actually featured in she's featured in the Couch and Sweater book, all about it's called Working with Wool by Sylvia Olsen. She shears sheep. She's amazing. She told me that she just bought herself an Icelandic sheep. She showed me her wool, and I just fell in love with the wool. It is just squishy and beautiful, and this is a really beautiful pastel kind of heathered purple. Then this is a natural kind of mottled gray. And then I couldn't help this one because it was just perfectly white sheep magic. That could be a new word. And it smells so sheepy, and it's just so sweet. And she told me her story and how she went to the Shetland Isles recently, this summer, a couple months ago, and was shearing sheep. And I just got so excited. I was like, I'm buying your wool. So I bought some wool from her, and I'm not exactly sure I think I kind of want to make a shawl, a big, cozy, because this is definitely like a worsted weight, if not almost Aran weight. Really cozy kind of yarn. So, but I want to do something with all the colors into one project. So I feel like it could create a really, really pretty shawl, possibly, where just the colors fade. Like maybe it starts with white, goes to purple, ends with gray, or goes white, gray, purple, or gotta figure it out. But look, guys, so pretty. And that's the label. Really sweet. It's basically, what kind of wool? 100% pure West Coast Canadian wool. Yeah, I love it. It's great. So that was, oh, and I also acquired a beautiful little skein. Okay, so then I went to see the sheep. I actually got to see the sheep, and I guess they had just shorn a bunch of them. So like it was so cool walking through the little sheepy pens and looking at like the pattern in their fleece that is left behind after the shearing. It almost looked like chevrons. Like you can see how methodical and really wonderful the people that were shearing the sheep were. They did a great job, and the sheep were so beautiful, and I just wanted to climb in the pens and hug them, but I know they wouldn't have liked that. But it was amazing just to hear them, like with their different, it was interesting to see the different kinds of sheep and hear the different kinds of noises they make. And I'm such a city kid. I guess I just don't get to experience that. Then we found, well, before we found the sheep, while we were looking for the sheep, we found the llamas and the alpacas. And I found some llama, spun llama. And I couldn't resist it. I've spun llama before, but it was just, I don't know. I don't think, it was one of my first spinning experiments, and I was obsessed with trying different fibers, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So this is just, how many? 2 ounces of llama. Spun. It's pretty much a fingering weight. I figured it would be maybe a really sweet fingerless mittens. It's a bit coarse because of the guard hairs, I believe, but it's just beautiful. It's just this beautiful, I couldn't resist. So I picked up this little skein. I don't know what it'll be. Maybe it'll turn into like a toy, cat toy or something, because it's nice and fibery and smelly like a llama. So those are the things that I acquired. I'm so supposed to be on a stash diet. I'm so supposed to be using down my stash, but I just couldn't help myself. There's just these new and exciting things out there, and I just want all the things. I've got a bad case of the gimmies, guys. Bad case. So went to the Spanish Fair, and it was great, and I ate cotton candy. My friend Travis tried to win me a teddy bear by shooting this piece of paper with a star in the center. He had to shoot the star out. That didn't work, but that's okay because those things are all rigged and no one ever wins. And but it was just fun to try. And it was just fun to be out at the fair, you know, all the sights and sounds and smells and foreboding rain clouds. If you go on my Instagram, you'll see a nice little stack of photos where I did a little bit of an Instagram bomb of all the different things I saw at the fair. Lots of sheep. You'll get to see the freshly shorn sheep butts. Which is so much fun. Okay, so then let's get on to the next part. Knit all the things. So I have been knitting a ton, like a ton, and I feel like I don't have that much to show as far as finished projects go, but I did accomplish a few things. Number 1, I finished my emery shawl. It was one of the UFOs that, well, it's not a long-standing UFO. It's by Shannon Cook. Amazing Shannon Cook. It's published in Pom Pom magazine. Not the most recent edition, but the one before that. I bought the book and the pattern when I was heading out to Edmonton. June 3rd is when I got the book and the magazine. And I bought Elizabeth Levold's Silky Wool to knit the pattern. And it was so wonderful. There's this beautiful Irish lace repeat that is just so much fun. You work side to side on the pattern. You build to the peak. You basically, like, you increase to the peak, and then you decrease back down, decrease. It is just a wonderful, wonderful knit. And it's so long. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to get project pictures for it, but I can't. It's longer than I am tall. See that, ladies and gentlemen? Longer than I am tall. So I gotta figure that out. I've not mastered the art of that yet. So I've got to figure it out, get some good pictures so I can add a project to my page. But all in all, fantastic knit. I love the way Shannon I love the way her brain works, the way she comes up with pictures, like with patterns. beautifully written, not difficult to follow. Basically, like, I did the tick mark tallies as I went down just to keep track of where I was in the pattern, but once I knew which line I was on, I was like, okay, and I could just complete the line and then do the line back, no problem. Really not difficult. The yarn is one of my favorite yarns. I've used this yarn for quite a few projects. I love Elspeth Levold silky wool. I just do. Because it's kind of rustic, but really soft. Yeah, and every once in a while you'll get a little, a little teeny tiny bit of vegetable matter in the yarn, and there's something about that I really love. Like Rachel from The Hungriest Knitter, she talks about that, and I agree. Like in Brooklyn Tweed yarn, when you find a little bit of vegetable matter in there, I love those kind of rustic, really sheepy kind of yarns. Doesn't smell like sheep anymore because I've blocked it, but I think I have to reblock it. I started blocking it right before dinner and I had to walk away and I couldn't finish, and so the ends aren't as straight as they're still kind of curly and wobbly. So I might reblock, or I might just wear it and to heck with the blocking. So that's one project I've completed. Then I recently acquired some lollipop yarn in the Flash Mob colorway. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this. It basically, my Rista 1313, Susan's sister-in-law, I believe that's who she is. Scrapping D. Her son, well, they're going to Disneyland on a trip, and her son basically had all of his money that he had saved up for Disneyland stolen out of his room. And you know how it goes. Like, it's not like everyone has that much money kind of like just lying around that you can replace it for your child. So she did the most amazingly motherly thing and said, okay, well, I can let go of some of my yarn in order to bring back, like, to raise the money again. So she puts it on Instagram. Well, I found out through Susan, so Rista 1313. I found out through her. Hi. Just wanted to say hi. I found out through her Instagram that the sale was going on, and I thought, well, kindness of knitters, like, yeah, I'll buy some yarn to help out with that. And she also she's the owner, Scrapping D, she's the owner of Cupcake Yarns. So when I saw this yarn, that's balled up kind of like that, I just assumed that it was her yarn. So I was like, oh yeah, totally, I'll buy it. When it came in the mail and it turned out that it was lollipop yarn, I freaked out because I've not been able to get my hands on this. Finally, like, I had actually the day before, I had just sent a message to Lollipop Yarns going, can I request some yarn? Because I always miss your updates. And so I've got my name down for some yarn in the future, hopefully the Downton Abbey colorway. But this is the Flash Mob colorway, where it's basically like a kind of a jumbled rainbow sandwiched between black. And for the first time, I am attempting the Afterthought heel. So those are the stitches on hold. I've just passed the point where I am holding the stitches for the heel on the second sock, which means I kind of walked away from my Dancing Dog dye work socks, which I will get back to, because I'm a jerk. No, I'm not a jerk. I'm just knitter with ADD. And so I need to finish these because in the mail today, I received my fishnets, the Canadiana colorway yarn. And basically what it does is it stripes like Hudson Bay colors, and it's like a white sock basically with Hudson Bay stripes. And how you do it is you can skein the yarn, like you ball the yarn up into 2 equal balls, and they have the stripes and then just a bunch of white, and you knit. And I made this as my reward for finishing all of my work for a project that I was working on this summer that was taking me a long time to just get done. I basically bribed myself to go ahead and get the stuff done, because sometimes that's the only way to get work done. Bribe yourself, like have a reward at the end, like a cool glass of water, or no, I said that. But this was my reward, because I've been seeing this and I'm kind of obsessed with Hudson Bay colors. I have 2 different Hudson Bay bags. I want to get the Hudson Bay blanket really bad at some point in time. And yeah, this yarn, it does the Hudson Bay color stripes. My friend M from Everything Old was the originator of the Hudson Bay Stripe colorway. I did not know her at that point in time, so I missed out on this yarn the first go round, but she basically gave the rights to Fishnets, and now Fishnets makes it, and you have to kind of pre-order it, and they'll dye it for you once you've ordered it. It is 80% superwash merino wool, 20% nylon, 400 yards, 100 grams, fishnetsshop.etsy.com. And, oh, I love it. I love it. The other funny, like, you know, synchronicity or coincidence, just as I'd had this as my goal or my reward, on Instagram, Susan B. Anderson, I swear, we're like yarn unicorns, like sock yarn unicorns, because she's always going for the yarn that I've just got, or I'm gonna go for, or I can't wait for. So this was like, I was just about to order, I had just ordered this yarn, and then all of a sudden it was like, Susan B. Anderson Instagrammed about it, and she's like, look, I just got this. And so she's finished her socks. I'm hoping to maybe crank these out either at Maine or before Maine or on the way to Maine. I don't know, because that's only 2 weeks away. But yeah, so we'll be sock twins yet again. I love her so much. And yeah, isn't that great? And you know what? It's really amazing. It came in this bag in the mail. Like, holy crap. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? It's like a hot purple explosion of awesome. I open up the package and I'm like, it smells like peppermints. And it turns out she sends you a gift bag with goodies in it. Yum! And yarn. And a little button with her business card, and, which is genius, and I want to do this myself, a little follow me on Ravelry card. I need to do that. I need to make these. I wish I had my act together. I could have these done. Maybe I could hand make them before Maine, but I wish I could order some, like, just to hand out to people, like, follow me on Instagram. I need to do that. I need to do that so bad. But yeah, so I got this yarn. Just add it to the mountain of stuff that I already need to knit. What's another skein of yarn, right? Okay, so then, what else did I do? 2 other little things I'll flash, but then I gotta get on to the end of this, because this is getting long. Sorry guys, this is what happens when I go away for so long. I'm currently working on, I scored some Felici self-striping, basically peppermint yarn, from the Knit Picks recent sale, and I'm making, I bought a bunch of it, and I'm making candy cane mittens. They're the Linden Mitten pattern by Jane Richmond. I've got to do the thumb. I have the second mitt knit. I just need to Kitchener the top and do the thumb for that one as well. But there we go. We've got beautiful, beautiful mittens. This pattern, I seriously can't rave enough about it. I've probably knitted about 60 times, honestly. It's my go-to mitten pattern now. It's Linden by Jane Richmond. It's set for fingering weight as well as sport weight yarn. So there's adjustments in the pattern. You can do both. Usually, preferably just get a self-striping yarn because that's half the beauty. But I love that they're just such a lightweight mitten. They're the perfect mitten. I can't enough about it. So those mittens are on the needles. As well as, I have a small group from church that gets together. And this week they came to our house. And there's a girl in the small group that I have basically known since she was in grade 9 or 10. She was in my small group for youth group, and she just recently started knitting, she's knitting socks already, guys. Like successful, amazing socks with a turned heel and everything. And she showed me the socks, and I got so excited. I brought her downstairs to my yarn stash, and I showed her, and I sent her home with extra yarn, and I gave her needles, and yarn and a removable stitch marker to make a ray. Because I just thought, you have to make a ray. You just need to. And so then I couldn't help it, and I grabbed my Tosh Light in the whisker colorway that I've had set aside for a while to make myself another ray, because this is another pattern I've knit a ton of times. It's the Ray by Jane Richmond, so she's kind of my go-to knitwear designer. And it's a triangular scarf, really beautiful, garter stitch. I love it. It's one of my favorite knits, and it's in the Tosh Light whisker. Which I shouldn't be doing these things because I have other things that I need to be knitting, but I haven't been knitting them. So I'm still working on my couch and sweater. I'm also working on a test knit for Jane, but I wanted to show you guys the fun swatch. So definitely fall is in the air. I have yellow on the brain. This is my cute little swatch that I don't know if I'm going to get rid of because I really like it. So I'm currently working on that. I can't really give you details unless I get permission from Jane, so I'm going to leave it like just there in the nebulous mystery. And I guess I'm going to cut this a little. I have more things that I want to share, but it's getting to be a bit long, so I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna do Inspiration Corner next week, but I will tell you my news bulletin. I just found out, which probably most of you already know, we have Quince and Company has new colors. There, I said it. Quince and Company has come out with new colors. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! They're their fall colors. And I am so excited. My thing's updating. There's, now I can't say any of them. Illusion, which is like a beautiful blue color. There is Bosque, which is like a beautiful yellowy color. There is Damson, that's like a purple color. And Barolo, which is like a reddish color. My husband just came home and I'm trying to tell him to be quiet. Okay, Joel, say hi. Oh my gosh. He brought me presents. Can I have that? Thank you. Do you want to come say hi? Come say hi. Hi. This is Joel. He just brought me one of my favorite summer treats of this whole year, which is a coffee tonic, which is espresso on top of tonic. And it is amazing tonic water. And then he also brought me, is this the matcha one? Yes! He brought me my favorite macarons from Foley P, which is an organic French bakery in town that actually is adjoined to the coffee shop. He brought me the matcha macaron. Thank you, love. He's being quiet. That's awesome. Okay, so there's new colors at Quince & Company. Yes! I can't wait. When I go to Maine, I have something that I'm going to get for myself from Quince & Company, and most likely it will be one of those colors, if not all of them. Because I sure need more yarn, right? There's that, and then I also wanted to talk about just, again, on the kind of knit all the things thing. Molly from A Homespun House has come out with Whispering Pines shawl. I'm going to knit this. I'm going to knit this so good. I was watching her most recent episode of her podcast, A Homespun House, and she was talking about it and showing it off. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh, it is. Basically, it's a shawl that has just the beautiful lacework at the bottom, but what I really love is throughout the body, there's a kind of a smattering of pearl bumps, like there's texture throughout the whole thing. So it calls for kind of a sport or a light sport weight yarn, roughly 400 to 450 yards. So one skein will do. I was thinking possibly for my my nice, which I can't find anymore, my nice peachy Rain City Knits yarn, or I don't know. So I definitely want to knit that. I also feel a bit like a traitor because I told you guys I wanted to do the Nuvum pattern for my beautiful Woolamize yarn that I was gifted by the amazing Fitz Knits, Julia Fitz, Fitzsimmons, I think her name is. Julie. She goes by Julie or Julia. Anyways, I found a different one. It's called the Sandbank pattern that just came out by Leah Victoria, and it is gorgeous. So I might have to cheat on the original pattern that I wanted to knit and do this instead because it's beautiful. Yeah, you can see. So it's basically a gigantic shawl. It's knit in the round, similar to the Nuvum, I think. I don't know. But instead of obviously it's a different pattern, but instead of ruffles on the edge, it looks like it's ribbing on the edge, like, you know, nice rib, which I'm not much of a ruffles girl. You guys have all heard that before. So I just, oh my gosh, it's just killing me. Look how beautiful that is. Isn't that gorgeous? And it's purple, and I've got purple. I mean, I don't have the same color purple, but purple. I think it'll be beautiful. So I don't know when I'll get to that, but that's definitely in there. And yeah, there we go. We made it through. It's a long episode, but I think you guys will enjoy it. And if you need to take a break, I should have said this earlier, but you know, you can always take a break and come back and watch the rest of it later. And I'm so glad you guys came to enjoy this with me and watch my podcast. I have a beautiful, delicious treat to enjoy. My husband is home. I'm going to go spend time with him. And I guess all I can say is thank you so much for coming. It is safe to return to your lives as normal. I'm sure that you got a lot of knitting done. I'm sure that you've long since finished your delicious beverage. So again, all I can say is thanks for coming out. I miss you already. Goodbye.